Alright, sorry about that. We got cut off, accidentally hit the end button. But anyhow, I'm not convinced that I can't do all those things in my lifetime. So I don't understand what the angle is that they are trying to attempt with creating another divide between us. Yeah. To be a supporter of virtual reality, you in a sense have to be a supporter of envy and finding a reason for wanting to be someone else. In other words, you're supporting the grass is greener on the other side theory, when in fact the most precious grass and most visually appealing is the very grass that's beneath your feet, because you can't see it, and by you not being able to see it, you have no idea what your hands are doing in your yard, because unless they're out in front of you can't see your hands in virtual reality. So the whole time you think you're just standing there being stagnant, your hands are actually moving around you and behind you and planting seeds and harvesting old seeds, old crops, and mending to the ones that are damaged and cutting off the ones that are damaging and don't benefit you, and they don't make you better, and they just don't. They just don't do crops. But because you really can't see what's going on, because that's really not what virtual reality is, how it's set up for. Yes, you can look behind you every now and then and look to the side of you, but if you notice, you usually can't go back. You can't turn around and walk the opposite direction. That's not an option. They make you think it's an option, but no. Basically, all that happened was the scene in front of you was switched out. You switch scenes. It's like watching TV and you're flipping through the channels. It's not that you actually did something to change your current situation. It's that your current situation was swapped out because you no longer were held by its attention. You were no longer receiving your daily dose of brainwashing from that particular program at the time. So they had to switch it and find one that amused you. And that's why we have those days where we're restless, and things that normally hold our attention and keep us maintaining throughout the day, they're not as enjoyable anymore, or at least in that moment, because you've received your daily dose. And if you do anything in abundance, its effect begins to wear off. And, the powers that be can't have you running around thinking on your own, or following the rabbit down the hole. It can't do that. It can't allow it. It would be a discrepancy in the system. And if you can temporarily disconnect yourself from the things that are going on, then what's to say that you're not able to probably help somebody else disconnect? And then they help somebody else. And for every one person that you help, another 4 people are helped. So it's a domino effect, or the compound effect. And it's real. So yeah, we live in the Matrix. Another game that you can equate life to is The Sims, where someone who has again, in a sense, a sadistic, narcissistic, Napoleon complex, that's a game that would appeal to them. Because where else in the world can you handpick and handcraft somebody the way you want and make them do everything that you want them to do? You can't. Where else can you dictate the success in your life? If you're the miserable spouse that's at home getting cheated on and beat on and unappreciated and unloved, then why would you not be the number one target or client that logs on The Sims every night after you put Junior to bed and live out your fantasies of having the complete opposite, having someone worship you and literally kiss the ground that your feet step upon, to be at your beck and call, to do any and everything you say without fuss or muss. That's what you're going to do. And because I know this, I can market it and sell it to you. I can sell you your fantasy. I'm your mama. I'm your daddy. I'm that nigga in the alley. I'm your pusher man. And as long as I know what your fantasy is, or I know how to way to entice you into believing a fantasy that you never even thought of, considered, or would have batted an eye at, it is my job and my civic duty to do exactly just that. To keep you supplied. To keep you on a high that you can never achieve more than once in life, but keep letting you chase it. I can let you chase that magic dragon all around town, knowing you will never catch it. Now, the first time you caught it, the first time you got to pet it. You really didn't ride it and experience it. So I say the first 3 times, you actually do get to catch the high or the level of enjoyment that you see from doing something. Because the first time you're going to be nervous, so you're not really going to know whether you liked it or not. The second time, you're going to start to... you're paying attention, let's put it that way. Because now you kind of know what to expect. You know it didn't hurt you. You know a part of you kind of liked it. You came back. At least you're curious. And the third time, that's when you start to say, okay, this is what I want to do. So I say all this just to say that you guys got to pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Look at why people do things that they do. A lot of people ask me, why am I a people watcher? Okay, that's a lie. Nobody asks me why I'm a people watcher. But people definitely look at me weird when I say, I like going to the park or going to the movies, or, movies is kind of creepy, but public places, beach, the mall, stuff like that, the club. I like going to public places because I like to people watch. I want to know how other people who are quote unquote in the same circle as me, how do they function? How do they function? How do they decompress? How do they adjust when something unexpected happens? I want to know. And I encourage you guys to want to know. Because the best way to hide something is in plain sight. You want somebody to see the truth of something? You want somebody to understand the concept of it, to even entertain the thought that it could be a possibility. So take it away from them. Take it away from them. If you don't want anybody to know what it is that you have to offer, then blatantly put everything that you do on display. Either way, whether you hide it or provide it, you are in control. For you have found a way to give yourself true bliss. Because to be able to be honest with yourself and others is a very enlightening thing. So, yeah, just there's so much that I want to say to you guys and that I have to say. And it's crazy because, I rarely find people who think the way that I do. And I don't want to knock anybody's hustle or, their thought process. To be honest with you, I don't think the people who, quote unquote, believe in self-medication and then turn around and have these spiritual enlightenments, I think it's a hoax. I really do. I think it is our sense of needing and longing for other people to accept us that manifests and takes over our physical vessel in that moment of time, because it is my personal opinion that when under the influence of anything, because be mindful, everything is a substance, we allow ourselves to relax, and we allow ourselves to relax, and we allow ourselves to be more open-minded and more willing to listen to other opinions. So bear with me. I've been self-medicating, so bear with me. Yeah, so blah 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 blah. I hate that, and that happens even in my treatments. When I lose my train of thought, I know I had a point, and for those who, again, are like-minded and understand what I'm talking about, you understand where I was going with it. But yeah, just pay attention, y'all. Pay attention. We have all these things that are quote-unquote life-changing, and oh my gosh, that was the most amazing thing that was going to happen, whether good or bad, because let's be honest, a lot of us, all of us, live off drama. We feed for it. If you ever noticed, anytime that they show something that's bad, they always show how able it is to reproduce at a quick rate. If it's a virus, it spread it all over your body before we knew what to do with it. Look at the movie World War Z. World War Z. Always a tongue twister. Look at that movie. It took 10 choo-choo trains or whatever coming into the station for that lady to get it, for that guy, I think it was a guy, for him to get infected and come attack them at the car. It don't take that long to get in the car, especially if you're scared for your life. It don't take that long to get in the car. So, anytime it's something bad, it spreads like wildfire. Side note, has anyone seen the video on Facebook that's going around about the quote-unquote fire prevention team helicopter is actually the ones that's starting the fires? Get at me if you know what I'm talking about. That's crazy, but that's another subject. Anyhow, bad news spreads like wildfire. So, when we're under the influence, when we're under the influence of a substance, that's where I was going with it. Thank you. I got back on my train. You're more open-minded. So, now you actually have a small window of opportunity, if you will, to actually give yourself the chance to stop the spreading of the negative energy. This is by second guessing yourself. This is by talking to yourself and debating things out. This is talking to others and getting their opinions on things and things of that nature. Okay, very weird. Taxi just pulled up. I don't know why. Anyhow, is it weird that seeing taxis now is like seeing a unicorn? It's something you don't rarely hear anymore. Like, oh, my taxi just pulled up. It's usually, oh, Joe driving the Honda that I never met before is outside. Again, another subject. Anyhow, so now you're open-minded and you're able to question things and you're able to notice things that are going on around you and been going on around you, and you're able to do so and receive that information with no fighting. Again, back to my point about having random conversations. There's no biasness. Nobody is objective, and nobody's ready to fight. So anyhow, you have those spare moments, and amazing things can happen. The faith of a mustard seed, that's all it takes. Why is that not the same as just seeing a sliver of light in the wall? Not motivation. Is that not the same thing? They just took the spiritual aspect out of it, but instead blatantly said the same exact thing. So, I mean, you just gotta be aware of what's going on, whether internal or external. No one should be able to tell you about you better than you. And if there's an extension of you, no one should be able to tell you about you. Again, same rule applies. No one should be able to tell you about your home and what goes on in your four walls and under your roof. No one should be able to tell you that. That's a private matter. And again, if everybody is just enjoying the view, no one can tell me about my garden. No one can tell me about my garden. Nobody can tell me how ugly it looks. You can't tell me, because I know I've been busy working on my garden. It may have some ugly areas, but you can't tell me my garden is ugly. I'm going to end there because my bus is here and I don't want to be the crazy person talking to themselves on the bus. So, I'm already scaring these white people enough. So, remember to tell your people.
Wow. 41.
You see that nigga talking in the dark, but they're talking that real shit. Until then.